Hey, EJ here from the Back Porch Antiques again. It's good to be with you tonight, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the hottest thing on the market. The hottest thing in the vintage and antique market right now is advertising. That's right, signs, clocks, thermometers, those sorts of things. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that, but I had some questions about what's the hottest thing going. So the answer to that is advertising. So I'm going to show you a few pieces of the advertising that are here in our store, and I'm going to kind of give you an idea about what to look for when you're looking for advertisement. Again, if you're watching this video, you probably already know that. So we're going to show you some of the more rare pieces that we have here at the Back Porch Antiques. So stay with us as we journey through our time together here, and you'll get to see some of the cool stuff that we have here. But advertising. Advertising is an example of our nostalgia, if you will. We can sell advertising or collect advertising all the way back to the 1800s. As a matter of fact, you will see a lot of that stuff that sells really high all the way up into the 1980s. And we'll see some of those things as we travel through our store today. Right here, you see some of the things on our front wall. There are really several different types of advertising. One is you will see kind of like a soda. They call it soda advertising. That has to do with drinks and those sorts of things. Your 7-Ups, your Coca Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, things like that. Here's a good example of this. It's actually a pretty rare sign. This is a V3 Cola sign. And here is another example of that. A Quickie thermometer, Barks Root Beer thermometer, of course Coca Cola, more Coca Cola, things like that. Those are some of the examples of cola advertising. Another level of advertising is Petroleum, which you see in like Texaco, Sinclair. Gas pumps will fall into that category. Those sorts of things sell really well, and we'll see some more of that as we go. So moving on through our store, you will also see another type of advertising that you can see is like local history and things like that. Greene County Bank, in our particular element, or things like that. You'll also see that in local feed sacks, things like that. There's one from Rogersville, another Rogersville. This is a Chucky, Tennessee cornmeal bag. And one of the earlier types of advertising would have been point of sale pieces. This is a good example of this. It's actually a pretty rare piece. The Frank Tea and Spice Company. Everything that needed to be advertised on this mid to late 1800s point of sale piece would have been seen on the front of this drawer. This is a spice cabinet, and it tells you all about the spices that would have been on this, and this would have been in an early primitive type country store setting. A beautiful piece right here, and pretty rare. So another piece of kind of familiar piece is what's called the Coke button. This is the Coca Cola button. You're familiar with them. These have, in this particular condition, this is probably a $300 piece. But you saw these on country stores all the time. Every place that sold Coca-Cola had these sorts of things. They call them a button because they were round. In good condition, they can reach up to $600. They have a taller version as well. This one, what's funny about these is a lot of these were robbed and used as sleds, which is probably what has happened to this particular one, but it holds a good patina that somebody can still use on the side of their barn or something along those lines. So good advertising there. So moving on through our store, we have a couple good pieces back here. This Dekalb Corn sign. Dekalb was a sign, well, it's actually a seed company, and they sold corn seed. Imagine that. This is an old masonite sign that was used probably at a farm somewhere. It's about, I'm going to say 36 inches or so, but you would see these throughout, especially the Midwest, quite often, and it would be good advertising for that particular seed, brand of seed. Now around here you will find co-op signs, Tennessee farmers co-op signs, things like that will demand a higher price and a higher value. Here's a couple of examples up here. Anderson's Catalog and Showrooms. This is a hand-painted sign. This is a piece of regional local history, and it's something that would have advertised a certain particular store. And they hold some value, especially because of the hand-painted value. Probably dates it to the 1960s or something along those lines. This is a pretty cool John Deere sign right here. This was a dealership sign. This is not one of your more valuable pieces, although it is still an original John Deere sign. This was a tape sign. They did all the letters and things in tape. Actually, this is hung somewhere and somebody shot it right through the heart with a BB gun. Still a pretty cool piece. Another example of local business are these two pieces here. America's Handicrafts was a store in Greenville on Tuscan Boulevard. Greenville Lumber Company was a store in downtown Greenville. That particular store dates way back into the history of Greenville, and that's a pretty good Greenville piece of advertising right there. It's a cool piece. Here's a pretty cool example. This has good patina. By the way, patina means aged enough to look real. Side note, you got to be really careful in the advertising world, and I'll eventually do I'll do a video on how to tell fake signs from real signs, because advertising is so hot. It is being reproduced significantly. From overseas, they're even reproducing what looks to be a patinaed sign. So one of these days I'll do a video on how to you can tell the difference between the two. And even after being burnt several times myself, sometimes it's still hard to find the truth out on those signs. But this is a pretty cool piece here. Good patina, world's finest air and electric portable tools, Sioux Tools Incorporated. Got some good top pinstriping and things like that on it. So over here in booth 10 at the Back Porch Antiques, there's some pretty good pieces, good advertising. That's another corn seed sign, Funk's Hybrid. This is a really cool piece right here. This is what's called the Coca Cola cigar thermometer. They called it a cigar thermometer because it's obviously shaped in the shape of a guitar. That's from the 40s and 50s, would have been at a soda fountain or something like that. Very cool piece. Hadn't seen many clocks, but here's a good example of a Stanley clock from the 70s, keeping perfect time, all lit up and pretty. Another way to advertise things were through the particular piece in which it was sold in. You will see good graphics and things like that on lard cans. You see some lard cans here that are, there's a peanut butter can, Swiss peanut butter. Those are good ways for advertising. There's a Masonite sign, a fertilizer sign. It's pretty cool. Down here, you'll see a 7-Up cooler. It's called a cooler is a type of functional advertising. So it would be something that you would use and have a necessity for, but they would put their logo on it so that you would be able to relate their particular product when you saw that. So a cooler is a good opportunity. Another Dekalb piece. This is actually a pretty rare piece. This is a wind vane that would have been on top of a shed or a barn. Very cool piece, old enough, got the good patina so that you know that it's legitimate. That's a cool sign right here. 4-H club member, embossed. Embossed means that the letters are raised. It's been punched by a particular machine. Now here's a piece of soda advertisement, Patinaed. This is a good sign. They reproduce some of these, but I believe this one to be legitimate. Can't say for 100%, but I believe that's the case. Last but not least is this pretty cool little Pepsi thermometer. This would have been 1980s, but for the entry-level collector, this is a good piece to hang on your shed or in your shop or even in your kitchen, things like that. Good little Pepsi piece there. But point of the matter is tonight is that advertising is hot. If you want to be collecting, it's a good genre to jump into. There's still stuff out there in the wild that you can jump on and find. If you are a reseller, you can find this stuff at a reasonable price if you're lucky and make some pretty good money with it. But anyway, if you've ever got any questions about advertising or anything else, give us a yell, send me a message or whatever, and I'll do my best to help you if I can. Have a good night.